We are going to start making our art journal now. Now, if you want, you can do the daily prompts in just a regular old art journal. But what I want to do is create something really special, something you could treasure as a memory of this time together, of this time nurturing yourself and connecting with spirit, or something you could give as a gift to a friend if you wanted to. So we are going to take an old book and repurpose it into an art journal. A couple of things when you're looking for a book. First of all, choose a size that goes along with what size practice you want to have. If you want to have a small practice, choose a little book. If you want to have a big practice and spend, an hour a day on the prompt, then choose a bigger book. Think about if you're going to be moving around with it, traveling, taking it to work with you, you want to have something smaller and lighter. If you are going to be just working in a studio, you can have something bigger. So choose something that fits, choose a container that fits the size practice you want to have. Next thing is you really want to have a canvas cover. We are going to paint on this later, so canvas creates a good medium for that. Next thing is that when you open it up, this has lots of glossy pages. You can work with glossy pages, but I prefer more of just the paper pages. So this one is not so great because it's got the glossy pages. This one, which I've already started prepping, which I'm going to show you in a minute, has more of these just paper pages. I prefer this kind of book. You can see this is like an old book that I got at a library book sale. I think it was actually a quarter maybe, or it was free. It's got stains on it. This book was destined for a trash can. I'm saying that because I know that some of you might have a hard time like destroying a book, but don't think of it like that. Think about it like transforming. Right? We're transforming this book into something new, just like we're transforming our lives. All right, next thing to look for when you're looking for a book. Okay, this one I brought because oh my god, it's so heavy. It's my example of it's too heavy. You don't want something like this. Also, we are going to go on a 40-day journey together. You want to have enough to accommodate about 40 pages. This thing's huge, it's got way more pages. I'll never be able to fill it up in 40 days. So this one would be a good one to use. I know it's like dirty and it says New England on it, but we're going to be painting over it. This has some cool paper in it. I don't know if you can see this paper. It feels really cool. But it also has a lot of these glossy pictures in it. If you have something like this, what you can do is you can just rip these pictures out. These can be great collage material. They may even find their way back into this book later on. Well, this book's really neat because it's got a bunch of clear pages that are almost like ready to go. I could just work right on top of them. All I have to do is rip out these, this might be the book here. So those are the things you want to look for, the right size, canvas. You want a binding that's not completely falling apart. If it's a little bit worn, we can work with it. I love the shape of this one too. It's kind of fun the way it's like long and skinny like this. So choose something that you like. If you're having trouble finding books, ways to find them. A lot of libraries these days have used bookstores in them where they're really culling through their older books, so that's a good place to find them. Also, used bookstores are a great place to find used hardcover books. So check those places out, unless you're like me and you have a closet full of them stashed away for just this purpose. Another thing to think about when you're choosing, when you're getting started with this. One thing I want you to remember when we're getting started with this art journal process is that we aren't working in a linear fashion. That is to say, we're not going to do the cover and then work page by page by page through the book. We're going to be kind of coming at it from lots of different directions. I do it this way because it's kind of a different way to engage our brain, to get our right brain and our left brain kind of thinking differently and thinking together. So we won't be doing the cover today, but just wait because we will do that in another session. Each week you'll get your weekly video training and you'll also get a little video about what the next step is in the art journal process. So today what we're going to do is just get the container started. We're just going to prepare the space inside the book. We're going to kind of create a blank slate. So I'm going to invite you into my studio and we'll get started with that. All right, so today what we're going to do is we are going to start turning an old book into an art journal. We've already kind of gone over what you want to look for when you're looking for a good book to use. Let's see, is this the one I want to use? Yeah. I like this one a lot because it's got these, you're not going to be able to see this on the camera, but these are not glossy pages, right? That's one thing I look for. It's only got a few glossy pages in it. And then it's got lots of this, so I like that. I love little quotes and stuff. Who knows, I might leave some of those in. We're just getting started. We're just preparing a space. First of all, yeah, I don't want these pages in here. You might decide you want them. I don't want them, so I'm just going to rip them out. And honestly, like these little bits, I actually love those. I love the, yeah, I just love the way they feel and the way they look in the book. It makes it more interesting. It gives it depth. That one's kind of cool. I don't know, maybe I'll see if I can leave that one in. So yeah, I'm going to go through and rip. Oh, I love the bee too. Let's see if I can. Sometimes when you start ripping these pages out, they all just want to come out. So yeah, try to rip some of these without ripping. Oh yeah, so that one just wanted to come out. That's okay, I can go back in later. Right now, I want this to be filled with my artwork. You know, I've got to like kind of let go of some of this stuff so that it can be filled with my artwork. I know some of you are like, oh my god, I can't believe she's doing that. You know what? I can add any of this stuff back in elsewhere if I want. Like I said, I want this to be a showcase of what I've created. This is good too because this will give me a space, a little bit of space here in this book that something kind of big can live. Alright. So we've pulled out some of those pages. Some of those might go back in as different things. I don't know about you, but I have an image file that I started, oh goodness, years ago. And when I'm done with this project, any of these that I don't use will probably go in my image file. And then, you know, next time I'm doing some sort of collage work or something and I need a butterfly, I'll be able to go right to B and find a butterfly. Yeah, my images for collage are probably more well organized than my, you know, paperwork and taxes and things like that. Now what I want to start doing is I want to start strengthening up some of these pages. These, I like how these are turning. I like this. I'm going to let this be the front page, but these, I'm going to glue these few together. I'm going to glue about 3 pages together, I think. These are pretty heavy pages. You know, we're going to be doing 40 days of art journaling, so you want to consider, you want about 40 pages, right? There's a lot of different glues you can use. I'm going to use a lot of this Mod Podge. It's not super expensive. It dries clear. It's nice and sticky. The way I like to use it is I will bring over my fancy palette here, which is a heavily used paper plate. And, oh, it's very thick in there. Whoa. Okay, that was a lot of Mod Podge. Okay, step 1, do not pour out that much Mod Podge. I'll probably use it, but sometimes it's super helpful to water it down a little bit. Don't water it too much or it'll lose its stick, but if you water it a little bit, it'll spread well. And for this kind of project, I like to use one of these cheapy brushes. You can get a few uses out of them, but I don't want to ruin my good brushes with glue and such. So I am just going to start by going through my book and reinforcing. And anywhere along the lines that I find something that I kind of like in that book, I might leave it. I'm sure we'll get to something like that here shortly. Now, when you're gluing this down, and you're doing this, you want a nice thin, even coat of glue. Go all the way to the edges. Okay. And then you want to kind of spread out from the interior. Now the other thing I'm going to do here is I want to prepare this page to really receive some art. I don't know, I like this born on the wind kind of statement. I might keep some of that, so I'm going to hold off on that. But here, this spread, I want to prepare for some art. Let me glue these two together first. So again, whenever you're gluing your pages together, you just want to make sure you get a nice even coat of paint. You don't want to, or I mean of glue. You don't want any like blobs or globs because they'll show up as like bubbles in your paper. Or maybe you do want that if that sounds fun to you, but I don't. And I'm just spreading that out. Okay, so now I've got these like, God, these pages feel so nice, right? They're like, actually, they feel so nice. They're just nice and thick and meaty, and they'll be really great for journaling on top of. So the next step here is to glue some paper on top of this. Now, you know, you've got options all along the way, right? This is just like a mixed media paper. I'm going to also use some watercolor paper, but I just had some of this readily available, so I thought I'd work with this. I know this seems simple, but it's kind of a fun way to prepare the space. Okay, so I'm just going to rip these page edges here. If I go back and forth a few times, then I should be able to get a nice clean rip. There we go. And then I can glue it down. Oh, I like this. I kind of like the idea of just gluing that down, actually. It would be an interesting space to add to later. It's just little like decisions like that are what add interest. So again, when you're gluing this paper down, you want to glue all the way to the edges. If you're using a good glue like Mod Podge, I mean, it'll dry clear and you can paint over it, so no, you don't really have to worry too much about if you get it around other places you don't want it. You have to glue all the way to the edges. You know, now that's going to create just a really interesting place to come and do my day's journal practice on. I could just keep it in this little square if I wanted to and have a cool border. I could paint into the border. I could write into the border. It's just going to leave me a lot of really cool options when I come back to do my day's prompt on it. So I like that a lot. You get to make some decisions with your book, right? Do you want, you know, your pages to all be set up the same? Do you want there to be, you know, to be all different? I'm going to demonstrate for you lots of different options. Got some glue there, so I'm just kind of smoothing it out. I think it'll be fine. I love little interesting things like this show up. Like I couldn't cover everything with that piece, and so I've got, can you see that? I ended up with this number 7 there. All right, before you turn the page to go work on the next page, you want to make sure that you don't have any sticky glue there. Like that's just a little sticky, and if I turn the page, I'm going to stick my pages together. So I'm going to give that a minute to dry. I want to give you lots of options for different ways to do this. I'm kind of digging this layered look. Yeah, we'll do that. Glue that page in just like that. Again, just bringing the glue all the way to the edges, making sure you get it on there real nice. I actually didn't bring it all the way to this edge because I might try to put a little piece of fabric or something, or just something in there later. It would look really cool. Maybe a piece of ribbon, or you know, one of the pictures from the magazine, just a little edge of it. Alright, so I've got another piece of paper. Again, I'm going to just fold it back and forth a few times, just really creasing it. You can cut it too if you want. I like the look of that rough edge. Yep, so we're going to put this one in here. And Do the same thing over on this side, leaving a little bit of the edge. All right, now again, don't turn your page until you've got no more sticky glue. Probably going to end up coming back and putting like a ribbon in there. You know, it's up to you if you want to glue pages together to make them stronger, or if you want to reinforce them like this. And you can do a mixture of both, which is what I'm going to do. You can also choose sometimes to leave some of the words showing. I think that's what I'm going to do on this page. I really want to show you just lots of different options, and then encourage you to kind of play and explore and do whatever you feel called to do. Because some of you might hate those rough edges, but man, I love it. They're fun for me. Well, that one's a little on the rough side, but what I wanted to do here is just leave some of these words showing through, right? Or you could even do your papers like that. That could be interesting. That one's not quite, it needs to be just a little smaller, I think. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. It's a little different. You know, who knows what'll happen when I come back to fill that page in. This is what I love about doing this technique and doing all the different pages different, because when you go to journal, you can just like choose which day, which page feels good to you that day, which one you want to play with, and you know, it will inform what you're doing, and it's just, it creates some dialogue, you know, between you and this container that you're creating to make your art in. So, and one thing that I think can make art like this really successful too is something like, I guess that my teacher, Shiloh Sophia, would call it being consistently inconsistent. So for instance, I'm doing every spread is different, and so that's inconsistent, but what's consistent is that the spread itself is always going to be the same, right? It creates something that's pleasing to your eye when you have that, right? It's boring if it's all the same, and it makes it, yeah, it's just not nearly as fun. But when you create something like this, it's like this new interest, like, ooh, what's going to be on the next page, you know? And who knows, later on, some of this stuff might get covered up, or some of it might show, but I think this looks really cool. Now I could just try to paint and draw and stuff on these pages, but then I really have to use paint every day, like with this watercolor paper here. I could use marker, I could use pencils, I could use whatever I want each day, which is great. It gives me some flexibility, and it just creates like a container for my work. Alright, so moving on, I think I'm going to glue these two pages together just to give it, it feels like it needs some strength. So I'm going to glue these two pages together. You know what, one thing, when we're talking a lot about, you know, spiritual creativity and having a spiritual practice, and one of the things for me that makes the creative process like a spiritual practice is staying present while I'm doing it. You know, when I'm just like spreading that glue around, if all I'm thinking of the whole time is like the things that stressed me out today or something like that, like I'm not really tuning into anything greater than myself or into spirit or that connection to spirit. But when I find myself thinking those things, if I can bring myself back to like, okay, I'm putting glue on the page right now, that's when it becomes a spiritual practice. All right, so you can see that we're starting to kind of develop what feels like a really nice art journal here. You know, I've got these different pages. Okay, my camera does not want to focus on me. There we go. It's the whites throwing it off. I've got these different pages, and I'm just going to keep going through this book and keep, you know, using it. I've got all kinds of different bits of watercolor paper here. Hey, you know what? It might be fun just to do a whole big giant sheet like that too, just across the whole page. I think I will do that. I'm just going to make a little mark right here, because that's kind of where I want to fold. I just did it a little on the outside of where I'm going to fold. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. That's kind of the look that I'm going for, actually, is a little bit rugged. So again, I'm just really going for wanting this decal edge, it's called, this rough edge. Rip that. Oh no, wow, ripped way off. It's okay. Got that. Hey, I'm going to save this too, because you never know. I mean, I might be able to use that. I should say that differently. I'm going to save it for this project. Like, raise your hand if you're a hoarder of art supplies. Oh my goodness, I have piles of things that say could be used for collaging and art journals. Alright, so some of you might be wondering what side of the paper to use. You know, you can use either side. I like the more toothy side. I don't think you're going to be able to see that, but yeah, I would use the toothier side versus the more polished side. So what I'm going to do here before I go to glue it is I'm going to go ahead and crease it. Crease it so that it'll glue in there really nice. Again, you want to be mindful of these other pages. Sometimes it can be helpful to put like a put something like that there, so your edges, you know, that you don't get onto the other pages, because that's how you end up accidentally gluing things together that you didn't mean to glue together. Okay, so we're just getting a nice layer of glue on here. So this is like your main journal building project for this, our first week, is just to get all of your pages set up and ready. And you can make this as involved a project as you want, or, you know, as uninvolved. You choose what works for you. Alright, and you can see that I've got some spaces where things aren't quite aligning. I could fix that if I wanted to. I kind of just let it be, I think. I might later come and rip some of that off. But we'll see. I think for me some of what makes this really fun is some of that, and just like letting it go, letting myself not be judgmental of it and just accept the way that it goes. Alright, so I'm going to let each of you just keep working on this however it feels right for you. Just keep covering your pages and reinforcing your pages. You know, preparing this space. And while you're preparing the space, you know, be in this moment, here, right now, with this space. You know, be in inquiry about what your container is for your spiritual creative journey for this time together and in daily devotions, you know. What kind of container do you want to create? What kind of time are you going to set aside? What space in your house? What space in your mind and heart? Okay, well, I'm gonna just let you all continue to fill your pages now and get them prepped up, get them reinforced, them covered in beautiful white, ready to go space, or colored. If you could use some colored paper in here if you wanted to. You know, just be inspired and have fun. And have fun creating this container. So after you've got your book, you can see I've still got a ways to go here. But after you get your book ready, I would love for you to come share in the Facebook group and show us the book that you chose. And you know, you could shoot a little video, or you could just take a picture and share what yours looks like, what your container looks like, all ready to go. Looking forward to seeing what you create.